Hey, good afternoon, brothers. How are you doing today? It's nice to see you all. Quite a lot of you here already today, actually. Mark, Robert, Crusader Dan, Aiden, Steel Rain, how you guys all doing? To Hit to Wound, how you doing, man? I was saying thank you last night, actually, to Hit to Wound for the new, for those brushes. I'm still using those brushes. We finished up some models last night using the brushes, so I'm pretty pleased with them. I was throwing transfers on them this morning, actually. I'll show you real quick before we get into today's stream. Here we go. So, here's one of my golden blade guards with some transfers on it. I still need to coat. I usually do some varnish and some matte paint over the top of the transfers, but yeah, the knees were pretty tricky to do, I'll tell you. But I'm pretty pleased with these blade guard. So, yeah, we finished up 11 more models. I'm wondering. Oh, and happy 4th of July to all the people coming in from America. Nice to see you guys. Dig in the tinted glasses. I have a headache today, man. I have these glasses. They filter blue light, so I don't know why. So yeah, I'm really thinking about painting Eliminators next. You know, we talked a lot about them in the last couple of videos. And some people mentioned them in the comments after Friday's heavy support video. So who's all in the chat? Tell me if you're running Eliminators. Are you running a buffing character to help make them better, like a full boss captain? And how are you finding them? You know, and like, what have you got the Eliminators armed with? Because like, I am seriously consider dropping in my list. I'd have to drop the Sanguinary Priest, but I could take like a squad of Eliminators and a full boss captain. I feel like, well, they'll do more damage than the Priest for sure, right? But I think they're going to be pretty interesting, actually, especially with the double move. You're using double las fusel. I'm not entirely sure. Steel Rain, you're running the Eliminators and the full boss captain. How you got the Eliminators armed? Instigator bolt carbine on one of them and 2 with the regular rifles. Mark, you're running them with Chapter Master on your bike. I think with Centurions and a attack bike in the list, you should run a Priest. I mean, sometimes the Priest is useful around the attack bikes and the Centurions, I'll give you that. But yeah, I'm wondering, I might try Eliminators. I'm really tempted to run them with the full boss captain and rifles. I run a lieutenant because I have BS2 reroll 1s for the chance of mortals. Because the mortals from Eliminators are on 6 for the wound roll, is that correct? So it gives you like an extra chance to get mortals, and you don't care because they're BS2. I mean, I guess that makes sense. Just I think the full boss captain kind of synergizes with them a little bit nicer in terms of like, if you just want to do a lot of damage output. Where the hell are Eliminators? And it's Mortis rounds. I swear, they just need to hurry up and make these codexes alphabetical order within each section. That would be really nice. Eliminators, Mortis rounds, an unmodified roll of 6. Yeah, for the wound roll, does 1 mortal wound in addition to damage. I guess that makes sense to run the Lieutenant. Versus Sisters now, they're useless due to the bodyguard rules. Yeah, I mean, I guess the Sacrosancts are really, really strong, right? One squad is great, but not enough to kill any important buff characters. Might run 2 to target characters with some captain rerolls. Yeah, I mean, I think when I ran them before, I ran the one squad and didn't think much of them. But I guess if you've got them next to the Phobos captain, you've got him buffed up, because the Phobos captain's rifle can do 4 damage as well, right? So, plus the Phobos captain has the same 12-inch deep strike denial, which is pretty nice, and you get the double move, and it's one more infantry model or one more infantry unit to perform actions. Good evening, Martin. How you doing? So anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. 1 squad and Phobos captain is enough. Yeah, I really want to try it, Steel Rain. I'm playing Death Guard tomorrow, I think. Do you think I should try it, or do you think I should stick with a priest? I don't think I can swap out anything else. Because I already have, I have to drop one of my characters to do it, I think. So it would probably make the most sense to drop the priest, but I mean, we could drop the Librarian Dreadnought, because he's the same price as the priest, like 155 points, right? Anyway, good afternoon, thanks everybody for being here. Today we are obviously doing our live army show. And we got 5 lists to check out. Usually we check out like 4 or 5 lists. So the lists this week, come from Steve, T, Hondo, Russell, Peter, and T Money O'Doyle. And I mean, you guys could submit your lists 100% if you don't need to be a member of the channel or anything. All you need to do is head over to like the Blood Angels Commander YouTube channel. Which is like youtube.com/C for channel /Blood Angels Commander. And once you're here, just click over onto the community tab. And in the latest community tab post, just find the comment section, click on it, and put your comment with your army list in here. Just basically plain text. It doesn't need to be files or anything. Just plain text from like Battlescribe or the GW app. And we'll pick it up and we'll add it to the queue. And if you are a member, you get priority in the queue, right? Because we have a lot of members in the channel. So, and also, that's basically how it works. So, I run 2 squads with bolt sniper rifles and Raven Guard, and with flesh tears, I'm playing with las fusils. Taking out the foul blight spawn early on is a big deal. I mean, yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. It's a toughie. Drop the priest or drop the Librarian Dreadnought, I guess, would be the options. And both are pretty good and both are important in my list, but I mean, I guess, yeah, I have to think about it. I really want to try it, I just don't know how I try it. Alright, so yeah, today's lists are by Steve, Hondo, Russell, Peter, and T-Money, and sometimes people like to know what's coming up next week. So next week it is James Fisher, Jar Miniatures, Lucas, we'll just leave it as Lucas, Matty B, and I think that's supposed to be Michael, I've probably just typoed it, Michael Hokey. So yeah, let's get fired straight into the list. And if you don't know what this stream usually is, it's usually just us looking at lists, making suggestions to make it better, and then scoring the list out of 50. Yeah, I mean, I love the idea of the Phobos captain with the 4 damage sniper rifle, right? And yeah, I mean, if you guys had to drop either the Sanguinary Priest or the Librarian Dreadnought in my list, what do you think you would drop to bring the Eliminators and the Phobos captain? Okay, so that's where we are, and yeah, and if you enjoy today's stream as well, it does also help the YouTube algorithm gods if you hit the like button at some point. So if you get value and you feel like it was a cool stream, I'd really appreciate it if you guys hit that like button. You don't have to. I mean, you can hit dislike if you want. If you really want to be you really would, if for some reason you really dislike the stream, I mean, I would probably say you could probably just close the stream and walk away at that point. But if you want to dislike it as well, you could do that too. Okay. So, let's start with this list then. And this is a list from Steve T. And he has, let me think. It's a captain who has Artisan of War, Gift of Foresight, and Adamantium Mantle. He has an Infernal Pistol, a Jump Pack, and a Thunder Hammer, and Armor Indominus. Alright, so pretty cool. Pretty interesting captain. I guess, 6 wounds? 2+ save. Thunder Hammer, Infernal Pistol, 5+ Feel No Pain. So, similar to the Chapter Master that we sometimes run, but this is a jump captain. Oh, I don't know why I'm reading all this. It probably says down here. I actually think Armor Indominus is not added on actually here, because it would be a 2+ save and a 6 extra wounds. It's a bit silly that in Battle Scribe, I guess, when you add a relic that gives you better... Excuse me. You add a relic that gives you better armor and it doesn't include it in the profile, but okay, whatever. But PDS says 3 damage. Yes, but you can mastercraft as there's a Phobos trait, Aiden, that lets you. It's a warlord trait. There's a Phobos one. I forget what it's called. Let me check. I think it's called like Master Marksman, and it's the one we've been talking about a lot actually with this strategy. So I guess you would take, Master Marksman. It's down here, bottom of page 106. Add 1 damage to the ranged weapons of this warlord equipped with, excluding grenades and relics. So his weapon could be... all his ranged weapons basically get an additional 1 damage. So, I mean, he's probably got a bolt pistol as well, right? A Phobos captain. I have a Phobos captain, but like I do not run him, or I have not run him. I maybe run him once. Where is he? Captain Phobos armor. Yeah, so his bolt pistol becomes 2 damage, and his master crafted instigator bolt carbine becomes 4 damage. Hey Bloodlord, thanks for subscribing. But I guess it makes no difference to his combat knife. But you know what? I mean, he's still got 6 attacks in close combat. He's not terrible. And I guess once turn 3 rolls round, he actually gets potentially 8 attacks. Yeah, it's actually quite a lot of attacks. Sure, they're just with his combat knife, but still, it's 8 attacks on a 2+ weapon skill. It's not terrible. Really not terrible at all. Got to remember that bolt pistol in combat then. Yeah, I mean, a 2 damage bolt pistol, why not? And it is assault as well, his carbine, isn't it? Yeah, assault. So you can still hit on 3s if you need to get additional movement. Then we have a Primaris Chaplain on a bike, and this Chaplain is the Master of Sanctity, which I think is very good. He has the Visage of Death. He has the Mantra of Strength, Litany of Hate. And yeah, I mean, it sort of makes sense, this Chaplain. Visage of Death, I feel like Rites of War is a better option because of the range. But because it's on the Chaplain with a larger base, Visage of Death is probably okay, in that the Chaplain's in the middle objective. You're probably going to be able to position him to Visage of Death most of the objective area. But I feel like Rites of War is a better pick here. And I don't think he's got a second Warlord, so... Or sorry, he doesn't have a second Warlord trait, so this would be fine. And this is a patrol detachment we're working through. We then have an Infiltrator squad. Standard Infiltrators, 120 points. We then have a Leviathan Dreadnought. Dreadnought. Twin Volkites, the Grav Flux, and I assume the Siege Drill. Okay. And I think that is the correct choice. Like, the Siege Drill with the Meltagun is very powerful. Yeah, you're right. The Benediction of Fury is very good on the Primaris Chaplain on the bike. How many CP is he starting this list with? If it is as high as 9, then you're right. I would probably spend 1 CP and take Benediction of Fury. I would swap that to Rites of War and Benediction of Fury. You're right, because it gives them the 4 damage Crozius with the ability to do mortal wounds on 6s as well, which is pretty tasty. We then have... Yep, the Leviathan, we went over that, and the Whirlwind, so that is 1 detachment. The second attachment, we have a Librarian with Veil of Time, Might of Heroes, and Psychic Fortress. So he's upgraded to Chief Librarian to get all these powers, and he's got a jump pack. So it's a jump Librarian. We then have 4 Bladeguard Veterans, just armed as you are, 140 points. We then have the Company Champion, who has been given Soul Warden. So he's got 2 things to protect against mortal wounds here, actually. So maybe he's playing in a meta that has a lot of mortal wounds, because he's got this Company Champion with Soul Warden, and he also picked Litany of Faith on his bike. So he's basically 2 bubbles of protection against mortal wounds on a 5+. This champion's upgraded to the Chapter Champion, which makes sense because the 15 points is actually pretty valuable, makes him quite a bit stronger. And yeah, I mean, I guess he is a hero of the chapter, so that's going to cost him 1 CP. I use Master Marksman on the Primaris Tech Marine, D3 Assault Bolter hitting on 2+. I mean, that's pretty cool as well, actually. Can you do that, though? Because I thought that was Phobos units only, that other Warlord column. Or am I being dumb? I've never picked it. Vanguard Warlord traits. You can roll d6, generate 1 trait. If a Phobos character is your Warlord, you can instead use Vanguard Warlord trait 6. I don't think you can use Master Marksman on the Primaris Tech Marine. I mean, you could Mastercraft as Bolter, Robert, but I don't think you could use that. Hey T-Money, how you doing? Company Champion will run with Bladeguard to give them some extra power and push. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. So you've got 2 bubbles of protection against mortal wounds. We have a second Leviathan Dreadnought. This time it's got the Storm Cannon and the Claw. Again, I mean, Leviathans are generally our most survivable model that we can put on the battlefield at the moment. I think, in fact, they probably are. You know, Toughness 7, 2+, 5+, Duty Eternal. So Leviathans, I think point for point, I think they're still very good for the points cost. Only disadvantage is they don't have the core rule. We then have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Sanguinary Guard, 4 swords, and 3 axes. And I mean, that's usually what I would recommend. Slightly more swords than axes. No Infernal Pistols or anything in here. How many points did you... Damn it, you were 1 point away from having the 5 you need for an Infernal Pistol. Okay. I like an Infernal Pistol and Sanguinary Guard, but it's probably okay we don't have one. We then have Vanguard Veterans with Lightning Claws and Storm Shields, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then Infernal Pistol and Relic Blade on the Sergeant. Yeah. It might, because you don't have an Infernal Pistol and the Sanguinary Guard, it might be worth using like a Lightning Claw and an Infernal Pistol, get 7 points back, add those to the 4 you had left over. That gives you, yeah, put a Lightning Claw here, and then that gives you enough to get an Infernal Pistol on the Sanguinary Guard. It's tempting. I guess let's see what else we got. We then got 2 attack bikes with Multi-Maltus, 60 points per model. Then we got Assault Bolter and Scepters, 40 points per model. Okay. 2 Leviathan made it to turn 3 against 3 Knights last night. They're my favourite. Yeah, I mean... Leviathans are very survivable. I thought Leviathans were very, very good last edition by using the stratagem on them, Duty Eternal, to keep them alive. And now that Duty Eternal is just like on all the time, yeah, I mean, I think they're great. The only disadvantage with them, right, is you've got to pay the 1 CP to include them in the list. So it's 2 patrols, so that's you starting on 10 CP. You've got 1 extra relic here, so that would be 8. A Leviathan here, that would mean you were on 6. No, sorry, 1 extra relic there, that would be 9. Leviathan there would be 8. Leviathan in the second attachment, 7. And that's it, so you start with 7 CP, I think? Yeah, I mean, at that point, you could maybe even consider Quake Bolts on a unit or something. I'm not sure which unit you could consider on. Oh no, you've got Hero of the Chapter on that company. So you start with 6. Okay, 6. I think 5 is the minimum you ever want to start with. But so 6 is probably fine. Good afternoon from America. And happy Independence Day, guys. We're hoping in Scotland to get our independence from England too at some point, so congratulations on managing it 200 years ago. Okay. Let me think about this then. Captain with a jump pack, Primaris Chaplain on a bike, Infiltrators, 2 Leviathans, a Whirlwind, Librarian with a jump pack, Blade Guard maybe for holding the middle with the company champion. You've got 4 characters. You've got 1 squad of Sanguinary Guard and a squad of Vanguard Veterans that are slightly bigger, and then you've got the attack bikes and the Inceptors. I mean, this seems like a well-balanced list. We're hoping in Northern Ireland for the same. Yeah, it's funny that everybody just hopes that one day to get independence from England, huh? Pretty sure that was the thing the whole world was hoping for at some point. Okay. I think I like it, Steve. I think it's well-balanced. Like, we always talk about needing a good mix of shooting. Well, like 2 Leviathans alone give you a good mix of shooting. The fact you've got attack bikes and Inceptors there as well, I think means that you have a lot of firepower. The Leviathans obviously will just wreck things in melee combat if they get into melee combat, because they hit at like strength 16 with +1 to wound. And they're obviously very durable, and they're kind of bullet magnets. You know, like enemies will shoot at Leviathans just because they're like, oh shit, it's Leviathan dreadnoughts. So there's something to be said about, you know, just that as well. You know, sort of standard captain and chaplain combo, and I guess the librarian in there as well, giving you denies. How many 3 damage weapons do we have then? I guess that would be one question. So you've got the 2 attack bikes, the 2 grav cannons on the Leviathans, I guess the 2 fists, or the fists and the drill on the Leviathan, that gives you 6. The Librarian can obviously do more than 2 damage, so that gives us 7. And then, I guess, your Captain with his Thunderhammer and his Infernal Pistol, 8 or even 9, and then the Chaplain on the bike, 9 or 10. So I think you're right on this cusp of 3 damage weapons. If there was a way to get a couple more 3 damage or above weapons, that would be good here. But I think about 10 means that if you fight against Death Guard, you're probably in a good spot. Switch out the captain to Primaris Tetmarine. That might be interesting as well, keeping those Leviathans healthy, making one of them hit on 2s. You could definitely do that as well. I would like England to gain some independence from Boris Johnson. I mean, that as well, right, Aidan? Yeah. But, I mean, congrats on the football last night. England blew them away, didn't they? This is their best chance to win a tournament since probably 1966. So, do you know what? I'm just happy Scotland didn't get beat by them. So, England have beaten everybody else except Scotland. So, that's good. Right. Let's have a think about scoring then. Objective holding OBSEC. Be a little bit weaker. We have our 1 squad of Infiltrators. I really do think Rites of War is going to be better here than Visage of Death. I did a video, Steve, on Visage of Death and Rites of War. I think at this point I've done videos on everything Blood Angels related. It might be hard for some of you guys to find them, but if you come into my channel and you click playlists and you go to tactics, there should be a tactics one here. Maybe I'll update this so tactics isn't buried at the end of the list, and then you get all these videos. And I think there's a better way you can see this actually. Maybe you come into the channel here and just scroll down. It's right at the top here, tactics. So you click tactics, and then you can see all the tactics videos. I think there was a video on OBSEC. This video here, OBSEC. Objective Secured Blood Angels 9th edition. I think if you watch that video, I compare Rites of War against Visage of Death in that video. So I guess just having the 1 troop unit is going to be a 6.5, but will give you a 7. If you'd taken Rites of War instead of Visage of Death, I think I would have given you a 7.5. I think I rated Rites of War just stronger than the other one. And so that was your old list. Okay, so And I think the reason for that is because it's 6 inches over 3, and I think that's a big part of it, in that like you can essentially be 3 inches away from the objective and be projecting your aura of Rites of War in there, whereas with Vision of Death, you literally need to be right on the top of the objective, and if you're on the edge of it, the enemy can still have OBSEC units on that objective. So I think Rites of War is going to be a better choice here. Anti-Horde infantry here. This list is going to be pretty good against that, because you've got those 3 Inceptors that can drop down, giving you 18 Assault Bolter shots. You've got 14 shots from the Bolters of the Sanguinary Guard, 8 more shots from the attack bikes. You've got 2 sets of those twin Volkite Cavaliers, so that gives you heavy 16, strength 5, 2 damage a shot, and 6s on the wounds doing mortals. I actually do like the idea of maybe taking a Tech Marine over this champion, but if you are trying to just hold the middle with the Bladeguard Veterans, you could actually just take an Apothecary and resurrect Bladeguard Veterans every turn for a CP or something like that as well. So that's a tough one. I mean, the Tech Marine will give your Leviathans more value, keep them in the fight longer, make them hit a bit harder, but maybe 4 Bladeguard Veterans alone are just not enough to sit in the middle of the board. The other option, I suppose, would be to bring down those Inceptors center board and just use the 18 inches from the center board to shoot out with as well. You know, in my game against Andrew 2 weeks ago or something, I brought the Inceptors down in his deployment zone, and I mean, they ended up getting swarmed by Repentia, and it was a really bad play. But I was thinking, really, the Inceptors can just come down somewhere safe. They don't need to be super aggressive. Come down somewhere safe, guarantee that they survive, get their 18 shots off. It's a lot of clear. So this list actually, I mean, if you think about it, 120 points of Inceptors, 120 points of attack bikes, that's 240, then 2 Dreadnoughts. And I guess we haven't even mentioned the Grav Cannons. I mean, Grav Cannons can be shot at units if you need to clear as well, and they're blasts, so it's a minimum of 6 shots potentially. So I actually think your anti-horde infantry is probably a 9.5. This is one of the, and usually when I'm thinking about anti-infantry, I'm thinking more about shooting, right? Because I don't want to have to charge weak enemy infantry with my really strong melee combat units. And yeah, I think 9.5 is fair. Will, the glasses are actually prescription. I sometimes get headaches from blue light, so I don't know what's happened. It's just random. So I used to get 3 or 4 headaches a week, and I got these glasses and I wore them all the time, and just day-to-day life, you wore the yellow glasses, and then the headaches sort of went away to the point where I usually just wear my normal glasses, but I'm just having a bad day, I guess. Storm Cannon, the second Dreadnought. Sorry, I missed that. Yes, you're right, the Storm Cannon. So what is that? Heavy 8 now as well? Strength 7 -1 or something? Yeah, Heavy 8, Strength 7 -1, 2 damage. Yeah, so this list is a huge amount of firepower that can clear infantry. So I like that. I guess let's see where you sacrifice in other situations. Anti-vehicle monster effectiveness. The Leviathans can deal with that, but they're a bit slow. The Sanguinary Guard can do that. The Vanguard Veterans can do that. The Attack Bikes can do that. I think it's pretty decent as well. Yeah, I mean, it's got a decent amount of firepower. I would like to see that Chaplain on the bike. I think what was called out, I think the Chaplain on the bike could have a 4 damage Crozius. Or the Benediction of Fury is the name of it, and then you use Mantra of Strength to make it 4 damage. Scotland's morale victory. Yeah, Scotland always need to take a bit of. We need a bit of helping hand when we get it right. So I think anti-vehicle or monster, it's very decent as well. I think it's a 9. Mobility, you might suffer a tiny bit. Your Dreadnoughts aren't mobile, but I mean, they don't really need to be. Your Bladeguard Veterans aren't mobile, but again, they don't need to be. I think it's maybe an 8. And then specialization. So you've got Psyker, so you've got Deny, so that's good. You also have 2 ways to protect against mortal wounds at the moment, which is generally really great. Soul Warden. Does Soul Warden protect just infantry, or does Soul Warden protect Heavy Flamers and the Dreads would help? I think you're better off taking the Volkites though, because I used to run Leviathans with Heavy Flamers, and the amount of times that you don't get to shoot them because you're not in range of anything. Alright, so it's any Blood Angels unit within 6 you protect against mortal wounds on a 5+. Alright, so your Dreadnoughts get protection against mortal wounds and everything. I had a similar issue some time ago. Light Eye Nerve Workout is solid rehab option. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. So I'm just wearing... What's really weird is if you wear the yellow glasses long enough that you don't see things yellow anymore. Like your brain just adjusts and you don't even notice. So, yeah. You've got really nice protection. I think your mobility is like an 8, yeah. And then specialization... 2 ways to protect against mortal wounds. We've got a Deny, 2 denies actually, because you've got a Chief Librarian. 9 or 10 3 damage weapons, which is a tiny bit low. And then you also have the fight first from the Whirlwind. So I think it's like... I think we'll knock off 1 point because I'd like to see another 2 or 3 more 3 damage weapons. But like, I think that is a really solid list. It works against everything, including Librarian Perils. Then, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to like in this list. I mean, mortals can be done by anything, right? Like enemy psychers, Death Guard spit out a lot of mortals. Sisters of Battle now have these new Stern hero that spits out mortals. It's always nice. I think it's just always nice to have protection against mortals. Explosions, anything. I don't dislike having. When I was running the Primaris Chaplain on the bike, I usually took Litany of Faith and Mantra of Strength. I figure like the way I run my lists, I don't really need Canticle of Hate. So Litany of Faith to me felt just better, giving your whole like. If they're going to smite your Sanguinary Guard, it's like, okay, well, I've got 5+ mortal wound protection for my Sanguinary Guard, stuff like that. It just helps. It's not... Admechs get exploding 6s mortals. Yeah, I mean, but in general, it just helps against anything. So every army seems to like have some way to kick out some mortals. So, Steve, this is a really good list. Yeah, I don't have too much feedback, I guess, in that... I'd be fine putting this captain on a bike, though, right? Like, I just like the additional +1 wound, +1 toughness, and I think he's 5 points cheaper than the jump pack one. So that's, I mean, it's a pain in the arse because you've got to kit bash it, but if you do have a captain on a bike, I think it's a great choice. I'd love to see 1 Infernal Pistol in that Sanguinary Guard squad. I would potentially, I suppose, you could give the company champion his, like... He gets a special sword that's -3 damage. I forget what it's called. It's in like the champion upgrade section. And just having like 1 more 3 damage, like I said, like a few more 3 damage weapons in there, I think will help you if you ever face like a really Dreadnought heavy list, or a Blade of Triumph is the name, a Dreadnought heavy list or Death Guard or something. Excuse me. 20 Skitari throwing out a metric ton of shots are going to do some serious mortal wound damage. Yeah, and that new Sisters of Battle stratagem with those Stormbolters, that's a stupid amount of mortal wounds as well, isn't it? Like 6 mortal wounds for 1 CP, almost guaranteed. So yeah, I mean, having some protection against that is pretty nice as well, I feel like. Okay. Yeah, I think 42 out of 50 is a very good score. I think there's a couple of things I said you could maybe nudge that up to like probably close to 44. So, I mean, it's got the workings of a very, very solid list, Steve. If you've got any other questions or feedback, just fire them in the chat and we can get to them. But yeah, I've lost my folder lists. I was going to say do you know what? If you put the captain on the bike and you save those 5 points, then there's your Infernal Pistol and your Sanguinary Guard for almost for free. Like, I don't generally find the fact that the bike can't move through terrain all that problematic. I mean, it's a slight problematic, but if you're smart, I don't think it makes you... I'm now getting scared into taking Litany of Faith as my second... Yeah, I mean, it's good. Litany of Faith is good. I like it. I actually don't know, does Litany of Faith protect everything, or is it just infantry? Because when I was using it, I was tending to use it around the Sanguinary Guard. Litany of Faith, core characters. Okay, so it's not quite as strong as Soul Warden, but I mean, it's still good. I guess the Soul Warden protects the Dreadnoughts that aren't core. Okay, let's move on then. List number 2 for today, and this is also from a channel member, and this is Hondo77. So I haven't spoken to Hondo all that much, so this will be interesting to see his list. Hey John, I would like you to review my attached list. List design idea: run the Sanguinary Guard and Vanguard Vet with the Sanguinary Priest and Chaplain for revives, healing buffs, and auras. Or he said auroras. I guess that's some light thing I don't know about. Run Chapter Master on a bike for turn 1 and 2 with the Dreads for Chapter Master rerolls. Death Company Marines for Fallen Fury charge threat or deep strike backlines in later turns. Blade Guard for pushing middle, holding enemy objectives. I have 15 point extra, so I threw Infernal Pistols on the Death Company Marines for extra punch. Or Audiobook can cover the mid and rear board for protection of objectives against threats. Side note, I can also run a Jump Utility Chief Librarian instead of the Jump Chapter Master. I mean, it's a tough call. I love the Chapter Master because when we did the math, it was like a 30% increase, 35% increase on damage output for any unit that you give Chapter Master rerolls to. That's on a weapon skill of 3, I guess. So if you're on a weapon skill of 3, you normally hit 66% of the time. When you get the Chapter Master rerolls, you hit 88% of the time. So yeah, it's literally a 33% damage bust. Oh, Jump Master Chaplain, sorry. Like I said, I got a headache rocking today. I can run a Jump Utility Chief Librarian or Jump Master Chaplain. I think he confused me with a Master Chaplain, right? Because there's no such thing as a Master Chaplain. Unless he's talking about Wiserator. Okay, let's get into the list and we'll see. So he is the Chapter Master on the bike. Gift of Foresight, Artisan of War, Adamantium Mantle, Combi Melta, Thunderhammer, Twin Bolt Gun. So the Combi Melta makes sense, 12 inches, it's good. I prefer the Infernal Pistol because you can shoot it in combat and it's 5 points cheaper, but I mean, Combi Melta is fine here. I feel like the goal of this character can be to get into combat, so if you are in combat, you want to be able to shoot that Infernal Pistol, but I guess Combi Melta means you can reroll 1 hit and 1 wound, so you almost get a guaranteed Combi Melta shot through on anything within 12 inches. Is there any way we can send an updated versions of our list? Yeah, absolutely, Ares. Just go over to the community tab and just post your new list and just tell me it's updated. I guess, were you up next week? Yeah, I mean, or sorry, the week after. Yeah, just post it in the community tab and just say that you just want it updated, and I'll do that for you, no problem. Unless he means Master of Sanctity. Yeah, let's get into this list and we'll find out. Infiltrator Squad then, standard infiltrators. It's nice to see so many people just moving to sort of the patrol, 1 infiltrator stratagem. I think I like it a lot. I don't think we need a lot of troops in the current edition. We then have 2 Redemptor Dreadnoughts, both with rocket pods, plasmas, onslaughts, and the fists. And this kind of feels a little bit like what I was running before. So I was running 2 Redemptors and then the attack bikes. And then he has Eradicators with the heavy melta rifles. And we've talked a little bit about these. These are good. The heavy is a pain in the arse because if the enemy is going to come to you, they're very, very strong. If you have to take them to the enemy, they're a little bit weaker, but they're not bad. Point for point, they do a ton of damage. Yeah, no problem, Ares. We then get on to the Master Chaplain. I guess he means is going to be Master of Sanctity, right? Yeah, okay, so there's Master of Sanctity, Mantra of Strength and Canticle of Hate. He's got the Benediction of Fury here. He also has a Combi Melta. And he has a Jump Pack and a Litany of Hate. So I imagine the Chaplain's going to be arriving from Deep Strike with, I guess, either the Sanguinary Guard or the Vanguard Veterans. We have the Chief Sanguinary Priest, who has the icon of the angel, so we get those rerolls in the aura and the Selfless Healer and all that nonsense. We then have 5 Blade Guard Veterans to hold the middle, which is, it's a solid play, putting those Blade Guards into the middle of the board. I do it almost every game, and I like it a lot. We then have Death Company Marines, and it's just 5 Death Company Marines, and this is what he said. He threw 3 Infernal Pistols on here, and I think that's probably wasted. I wonder if we could do this a little bit better. We then have 2, 4, 6, 8 Sanguinary Guard, all with swords, which is fine. I do like a few axes, but all swords here is fine. And then Lightning Claw Vanguard Veterans times 3, and then 2 Vanguard Veterans with Thunder Hammers. Okay, and then a Whirlwind of the Castellan Launcher. I'd start by removing the Thunder Hammer from this Vanguard Veteran here. You only get 2 attacks with it. 12 points for 2 attacks. Sure, you're going to get 3 or 4 if you charge, but realistically, you're only going to hit 2 times with it. And yeah, I think 12 points here. I think I'd just rather put a Lightning Claw here, and that frees you up 9 points, right? And what was your total cost? 810 plus... Alright, so this was a 1999 point list, right? So he's got 1 point anyway. So if we drop that Thunder Hammer, made it Lightning Claw, that gives us 9, plus the 1 we have left over, that gives us 10 points. At that point, I would drop the 3 Infernal Pistols here and add another Death Company Marine. So you'd have 4 with Bolter and Chainsword and 2 with Thunder Hammer. Alternatively, use these 10 points to get an Infernal Pistol into the Sanguinary Guard. I think the Death Company, 5 of them aren't going to survive, right? Like, they're gonna Forlorn Fury in, they're gonna do a bunch of damage, but they're really not going to survive. So I think the Infernal Pistols here are wasted points. I'd probably also run an Infernal Pistol on the Sergeant here. So you could run Infernal Pistol Thunderhammer on the Sergeant. Can you use Sanguinary Guard to Deep Strike? And if so, do you need points to do it? No, the Sanguinary Guard have jump packs, Jace, so they can start the game in Deep Strike. How do you send my list? You go over to the community tab of the Blood Angels Commander YouTube channel, which is like YouTube/C/Blood Angels Commander. You hit community, and then you find the most recent post here, and just post your list as a comment. Sorry, as a comment on this post, and I'll find it in there. Yeah, so I think the way I see it with the Vanguard Veterans, if you only have 1 guy left, you've kind of lost the whole squad anyway. So that's why I put the Infernal Pistol in the Sergeant, so all the other guys die first. This Thunderhammer for only... Like, I have Thunderhammer Vanguard Veterans, and, like, I just thought they're... Like, I have 3 of them fully painted, but, like, I just don't run them. I think that their number of attacks is just a little bit low. I think Lightning Claws are just much stronger. A little bit of a question mark about the Heavy Melta Rifle Eradicators. You know, I tried to use them and struggled with them a little bit. On armies, in battles when the enemy came to me, they were good, but in battles where I had to take them to the enemy, I felt like they were a problem. Because you're only hitting on 4s and you're only moving 5 inches. So that's why I think attack bikes, and we talked about this last night, attack bikes are only 10 more points, I guess, than the Heavy Melta Rifle guys. And you can do a lot more with the attack bikes. You know, 12-inch move, no -1 to shoot. You also get like 12 bolter shots if you're running 3 of them. They give an additional wound. Yeah, I mean, I think there's just a lot to like still with the attack bikes. It's interesting to think if you drop those 3 Infernal Pistols, and he dropped this Thunderhammer, he's got 25 points. You then drop the Combi Melter off the Chaplain Master, and change it for an Infernal Pistol as well. You now have 30 points, and then that is 3 attack bikes over the Heavy Melter Rifle Eradicators. And rezzing attack bikes as well is really, really good. Yeah, and chat agrees. Attack bikes are just better for Blood Angels. I found that positioning of the attack bikes really easy, whereas I found the Eradicators like really slow. The attack bikes are also very easy to deploy into cover and then move out 14. You get to move 14 inches. It's very easy to move out of cover into range and shoot things. Where so you start the game obscured, Whereas with the Eradicators, I found, you can start them in cover, but the second you move them out, now you're only hitting on 4s, and 5-inch might not be enough. And I think I won the games when I ran them, but I just didn't like them nearly as much as attack bikes. But Death Company, Sanguinary Guard, Vanguard Veterans, 3 good solid jump pack units. The Whirlwind for the fight last, the Blade Guard for holding the middle, the Priest for resurrecting, the Jump Master, I guess, to make anything that comes down, reroll charges or whatever, and then Infiltrators and the Chapter Master for the bike. So I think this list might have the same problems that my list has. Like, it's a little bit light on infantry for performing actions, and actions are obviously important. Unless you want to do actions with your Eradicators, but ideally probably not. So a little bit light on infantry, but overall, it's an interesting list. Okay, so OBSEC I guess is 6.5 because we just have that 1 troop units. Anti-hordes, in terms of shooting, we have 2 Redemptors, so that's not bad. If we wanted to shoot out a bunch of Horde units, we could have basically 3 shots on the rocket pods, 6 shots on the plasmas, the 8-shot onslaught cannon. We do have probably 16 shots from the Sanguinary Guard with their guns. I mean, you could shoot a little bit with the Whirlwind, but not much. So I guess maybe it's like an 8 if we need to destroy. Do you have a current 2,000 point list up anywhere, John? Yeah, my 2,000 point list. I wonder if it'll be I was gonna say it'll be in my live games that go out on Mondays. We always put lists into the video descriptions just here. So I think this will be my most current list. I'll just put it in chat and you can grab it from there. It's not formatted very nicely, but this is the list that I was running last time. I am swithering on changing 1 or 2 things, because before the points nerf I'd actually gone on a giant win streak, but since the points nerf I actually lost one of the games, so I need a little bit of time to think about that. Okay. Anti-monster. So we've got 2 plasmas on the Redemptors. We also have the Heavy Melter Rifles. We also have like Redemptor Fists. We have the Thunderhammers and the Death Company. We have a big Sanguinary Guard. We have Vanguard Veterans. And as it stands, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So we've got 18 3-damage weapons. So this is very good. So with 18 3-damage weapons and with all these jump units, then I think Anti-Monster is probably a 9, maybe even a 9.5 here. On mobility is pretty good as well. The only things that aren't really mobile: Eradicators, the Dreadnoughts, I guess, that don't need to be, and the Blade Guard that are usually going to go to the middle. So I think probably mobility 8, similar to the last list. It might be a 7.5, but I think 8 is probably fair. And then we do have the Whirlwind. We do have I was going to say we have a Librarian, but no, this list doesn't have a Librarian. So we've got the Whirlwind for the fight last, but we don't have a Librarian. We have a ton of 3-damage weapons, and maybe we're a little bit light on infantry to be able to perform actions. But yeah, I mean, it's probably like an 8.5 on specialization. I think no psychic, maybe makes it lose 1 point. So, do you know what? Maybe it should be a 9. The annoying thing is Death Company can't perform actions. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think maybe 9. Maybe 8-5 is harsh. So something like this for Hondo's list. Would you label Deep Strike as reinforcements? Are you meaning for like counting how many models are in reinforcements before the battle so you can work out how many points you start with off the table, Jace? Because if so, then yeah, jump pack units coming in from reinforcements, or coming in from Deep Strike, they do indeed count towards your limit of like half. It's less than half your army, so in a 2,000 point battle, 999 points can be off the table. So it has to be less than half. So like half would be 1,000, so it can be 999. I know when Andrew was playing his Sisters of Battle, he literally had 999 points off the table. All right, Hondo. Hopefully we made some suggestions. If we did those suggestions that I said, what would change? I mean, like the Death Company would be a little bit stronger, which maybe means, yeah, I think the Death Company could be stronger, or the attack bites could be stronger. We'd probably save like a few wasted points here and there. But overall, I think it's probably fine. I think if we actually scored my list, we'd probably score about 42. I don't think my list's scoring much higher than this. Yeah, there's not too much I would change in this, really. The one thing that to be aware of is these macro plasmas are quite swingy. When you run 2 of them throughout the whole game, it's probably fine, but when you just run 1 dreadnought, they can definitely feel swingy. And I mean, this is maybe where like a relic Leviathan actually feels a little bit stronger. But I mean, if you're fighting just non-Forge World stuff, then the Redemptors are reasonably decent. And I guess smart target priority can still make the plasmas very useful. And the 2 damage and low power is nice as well, So I just don't really like Death Company at the moment. They can't perform actions. They don't survive, in my opinion. And Thunderhammer is on them. 37 points for a 2-wound model. It's really, really expensive. And I know they do get a decent number of attacks, but like, it's a lot to lose, Like, it feels painful when your Sanguinary Guard die at 32 points per model, Death Company, 5 more points per guy. It's nasty. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just think Vanguard Veterans are a much better choice. How much is a Vanguard Veteran with a Lightning Claw again? Like, Lightning Claw and Storm Shields at 27 points per model. Yeah, yeah, it's a tough one, right? I kind of feel like that's just a better choice. And it's 10 points less. 10 Death Company or 0, that's it. I think you're right, Rezio. Yeah, I think the strength of the Death Company is the large squad that can do that Alpha Strike. If you're not going to do that Alpha Strike, then Vanguard Veterans with Lightning Claws are definitely a better choice. Or something else. Or, another small squad of like, what is this, 170 points? So this is actually, you could have 5 Sanguinary Guard for this squad. Because 5 Sanguinary Guard now are 160 points. Yeah, so you could have 5 Sanguinary Guard and have one of them with or 2 of them with Infernal Pistols, or 1 Infernal Pistol and 5 points to play with somewhere else. And yeah, I just think that's better. Much better. Alright, Russell, you're up for list number 3, and I've just realised that I haven't been putting the names of the players and their lists on the top of the screen, which I usually try and do. So let me just put Russell's name up here. And also at the end of the stream, we'll post all the we'll post all the lists into the comment section. So if anyone wants to come back and check out any of these lists, they'll be posted down below in the comment section after the stream ends. Goonhammer has Blood Angels list that played second last week, running 2 Volkite Dread Contemptor Dreadnoughts. Yeah, those Volkite Contemptor Dreadnoughts are a weird one, right? In my opinion, because they're like AP 0, right? Relic Contemptor. I can't. Oh, I found it anyway. I was going to say I can't spell. Twin Volkite covering, heavy 8, strength 6, 0. 2 damage. So like against, like I was thinking about these earlier, right? Because you know, like I saw on another Facebook group that another Blood Angels player, like quite a prolific Blood Angels player, has been painting these as well, right? And here's my issue with them. If you fight Death Guard, they're 1 damage. So yeah, you get 16 shots, hitting on 3s. I don't know how many hits that gives you, but we can work it out, right? 16 shots, hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s because it's Death Guard, and they're toughness 5 usually. So 7 go through, but it's AP 0. So if you think about it, if you roll 7, then you're probably going to get 1 set of mortal wounds. So you've done 1 mortal wound, and the Death Guard player needs to make 7 saves. Well, he's only saving on 3s, so only 0.333 go through. So 150 point Dreadnought is only doing 3 wounds against just like a Plague Marine. So you killed 1 Plague Marine, and that includes the mortal wound. So 160 point Dreadnought doing 3 damage to a squad of Plague Marines feels pretty low. And then I guess if you come against Custodes as well, like against Custodes, these are absolutely terrible as well, because the Custodes are typically going to save on 2s against them, except maybe in turn 1. But in turn 1, a smart player usually puts a lot of their models in obscuring positions, right? So I get some people have been having good success with these Volkite coverings, but like, I don't know, in my meta where there's Death Guard and Custodes, I just don't know if I rate them. Like, I'm not in any rush to go and buy them because I just don't think they're that effective. In some ways, if you think about the Leviathan Dreadnought, it has 8 shots from a very similar weapon, right? Like, it's just strength 5 rather than strength 6. Like, that's the only difference, I think. 30 inches. Alright, the Contemptor one's got more range. So, but for me, yeah, I just don't know if I rate those. But I have seen people playing them, and we did do some Math Hammer on them a little while ago, but like it wasn't that impressive. I could probably find that Math Hammer, Robert, if you really want me to. I disagree. A small unit of Death Company that you're happy to throw away is extremely useful. See, that's the thing. I think, Gitley, is like So I played that exact tactic for 6 months. Like, I dropped down 5 Death Company in the backfield, 4 with bolters and chainswords, 1 with a thunderhammer, and just threw them at the enemy's backfield objective. And 9 times out of 10, sure, I killed the backfield objective, and it was useful, right? But here's the thing: once you've actually killed the backfield objective, then what are you doing? Because you can't perform actions, and they're not that survivable if you get shot at. You know, like, I don't think a 6+ feel no pain really makes you survivable at all. Would Blade Guard Veterans be good in a 500 point Blood Angels list? Yeah, I mean, a small squad of Blade Guard Veterans is very good. 3-man squad is totally fine. So, for the same points, you get the Vanguard Veterans, and again, I did Math Hammer on that. There's actually a video on my channel, 5 Death Company Marines in that exact combination, Thunderhammer and light chainswords against 5 Vanguard Veterans with Lightning Claws and Storm Shields. And the Death Company do 10% more damage than the Vanguards, but the Vanguards are about 70 or 80% more survivable than the Death Company. The only thing they're not more survivable against is mortal wounds. And let's face it, the Death Company are only saving against mortals on 6s, so it's kind of like a low... It's kind of a, like, if you take up like 5 mortal wounds and you're saving on 6s, what do you save 1 of them or something? So, you know, I would rather take the unit that's 70 to 80% more survivable, because when I do kill that backfield objective, now the enemy has to commit stuff to come back and kill me. If I can get my Vanguard Veterans into cover, then we're actually saving on a 1+ armor save, which is pretty great. So he needs to hit me with like -3 to just get me onto my 4+ invulnerable save, you know? And the Vanguard Veterans can sit there and perform actions. So for me, yeah, the Vanguard Veterans I think are just the better choice. All right, hold on. We've got a lot of questions in chat today. I'm going to see if I can pull up 2 of my presentations that I made on this stuff. YouTube, Blood Angels, presentations. And if you guys are members of the channel, you actually get access to all these presentations, and you can just download them and look at them at any time rather than trying to scroll through all my videos. Where's the Vanguard Veteran? Here it is. Mathhammer, Vanguard Veterans, Windstorm Shields against 5 Death Company, Chainsword, and Thunderhammer. So if we look at like survivability, I think this was the thing that I was looking at. So against like storm cannons, Vanguard Veterans are what, like 25% more survivable. Against Sisters Repentia, they're almost 50% more survivable. Against Multi-Meltas, they're like 75% more survivable. Against Plasmas, again, it's a lot, like 60-70%. And against just regular bolt rifles, minus 1 AP is 25%. So the Vanguard Veterans are quite a bit more survivable against everything. And then I think I have a slide here where it's like the damage output. So Death Company, if we pick like, I don't know, against like infantry or something, the Death Company and this infantry, these would be like the old, this would be a bad example. Let's take like monsters. But you can see that Lightning Claws with Storm Shields are actually out. The green numbers means that they out-damage the Death Company, right? So early in the game, when only when only Shock Assault is up against like tough infantry, monsters, and armor, the Death Company are going to get out-damaged by the Vanguard Veterans. They're going to get out-damaged against just regular Marines, Battle Sisters, and then I guess later in the game when Savage Echoes is up, it's going to be similar, but like it just didn't feel like the Death Company do anything more than the Vanguard Veterans. And in some cases, you know, if you think about the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so out of 8 of the units that we checked early game, the Vanguard Veterans are going to outdamage the Death Company 5 out of 8 times. Late game, the Death Company are going to do the more damage, sure, but then when we actually looked at it, so Death Company, in some situations, do 15 to 20% more damage. The Vanguard Veterans get 20 to 70% more survivability. So for me, it's 100% Vanguard Veterans. And then here's this other slides for the Contemptor versus the Redemptor. And I think we did, I want to say we did the Relic with 2 Volkites, right? So a Redemptor Dreadnought shooting against infantry will do like 9.4 wounds. And this will just be like a toughness 4 infantry with like a 3+ save. You'll see that in some of the earlier slides. And there is a video out of this. You can find it on the YouTube channel. Whereas like the Relic, which remember is going to cost you 1 CP to take, is going to do 7.33 plus 2.66 mortal wounds, so he's going to do around 10. So you're only going to get like 0.6 more damage on average. Bear in mind, all these numbers are always calculated on average. So you're talking the average number of shots from the macroplasma, the average number of shots from the rocket pods, etc. But then if you talk about the melee, the amount of damage the Redemptor can do in melee is kind of crazy, and this Relic Volkite one is going to do nothing in melee, right? And I think we also did a Relic Contemptor with just one of those cannons and like a close combat weapon. And to me, I actually prefer that. Like the close combat weapon on the Contemptor can do a ton of damage. I think it was the Chain Fist we worked this out with. So yeah, 10 points more in the Redemptor. It is 1 CP cheaper. And you know, again, green means it does the top damage, so it actually does more damage against monsters. It is second place against some characters or infantry, but like second place just. You know, you're sacrificing all of its melee potential and 1 CP for a couple of wounds per turn. So if you think there's value there, I mean, you know, and that also includes paying the extra points for the Cyclone Missile Launcher, right? So I've tried to, usually when I make these videos, I try and cover all the bases. Yeah. Okay, sorry, completely lost where I am. We're about to start on Russell's list. Sorry, there's so many questions on chat today. But yeah, okay, so hopefully some of that is interesting. Like I said, if you are a channel member, there is... I'm actually not sure if it's super easy for channel members to get it. Maybe I will sticky that URL into the Discord so you guys can all get it. But you guys all have full access to all that. I got a question. I'm going to have a squad of Death Company non-Primaris in my Blood Angels army. Are they good with or without jetpacks? 100 Death Company Firstborn 100% James or Ryan need jetpacks. They're almost... That's why people don't take the Primaris ones, because they don't have jetpacks. Yeah, so... yeah, I guess take it what you wish for, but like... I feel like in 9th edition you want units to survive more than you want to do raw damage. But I mean, I guess I could be wrong. But yeah, I mean that's the math. So the math is there for you guys to check it out. Okay. Excuse me. Oh. All right. So this is Russell. Keep up the good work. As promised, my second crack at the Hammers of Sanguinius. I've become a member, so you can review it sooner. Enjoy. Well, thank you for becoming a member, Russell. It's much appreciated. So army-wide plan. Shock Assault +1 attack. Red Thirst +1 charge. Born Heroes. Right, so this is a successor chapter, and he previously scored 39.5. And if I remember correctly, this is an interesting successor chapter in that he's taken +1 to hit. And he's also taken fallback and charge. I think you lose the Red Thirst, though, right? Am I wrong here? Oh. No, you... Sometimes these... Give me a second. My brain is not working today. If you are successor chapter, then you will not get... Yeah, you won't get the Red Thirst. Yeah, that's right. So you don't get your advance and charge, and you don't get your +1 to your wound roll. But so instead of that, he's still got Shock Assault, he's still got Savage Echoes, he's got +1 to hit from Born Heroes. Born Heroes just says each time this model makes an attack, melee attack. If the model's unit made a charge, add 1 to that attack. And he's got Tactical Withdrawal, which is, yes, fallback and charge, which I actually think is great. Especially because we get those additional attacks on charging, right? So I think that's pretty great. Hey Jeff, how you doing? Happy birthday to America indeed. Or happy independence. We were joking earlier that Scotland's hoping to get its independence soon as well. So... Alright, so backfield objective, 5-man heavy intercessor squads with Hellstorm bolt rifles for 3 shots at 30 inches, and that is the assault version, strength 5, 2 damage I think, right? Or is it just 1 damage on those No, it must be 1 damage. Let me boot up, I still haven't really run heavy intercessors much myself. Heavy intercessors... Helmstorm bolt rifles, yeah, so 1 damage. Strength 5, strength 5, 1 damage, assault 3. So 15 shots from these heavy intercessors in the backfield. 2 5-man infiltrator squads, so I'm guessing this is probably a battalion, he just hasn't said yet. Midfield frontline, 3 Bladeguard veterans, 3-man company veteran squad with Thunderhammers and a Redemptor Dreadnought. Oh, right, he's got the actual list underneath. Good, I was going to say it's going to be difficult to do without the point scoring off the top of my head. 2 3-man Eradicators for like static shooting. Mobile shooting is the Hammer Strike. Do you know what? We haven't really seen the Hammer Strikes, period. So that's cool. So at least we get to see one of the new Storm Speeders. I did kind of fancy buying one, but I don't know how competitive they are. Hey Jeremy, thank you for subscribing. We're looking at the Melter Rifle, the Hammer Strike Missile Launcher, which I guess is kind of nice because it's flat 3 damage, and then a random Crack Storm Missile Launcher. It's just a crack grenade at long range. Captain has the Hammer of Baal, Jump Pack, Storm Shield, Warlord. When charging 5 attacks with his hammer, weapon skill 1+, strength 8, -2, 4 damage. How do you make the Hammer of Baal 4 damage? I have to check that. I don't think you can make the Hammer of Baal 4 damage as a relic, so I thought it was just flat 3. Not sure to use Iron Resolver to make him more tanky, speed of the Primarch fight first. I think I'd probably make him survive more. But that's just my opinion. 5-man Sanguinary Guard with Axe Rolls. 5-man Assault Terminators with Thunderhammers and Storm Shields. 5-man Vanguard Veterans with Thunderhammers and Storm Shields. Okay. So is it Successor Chapter coming in at 1900 points? And I guess it is a battalion, right? Because you did have 3 troop choices. Yep, battalion. Alright. Captain with the Hammer of Baal, Iron Resolve, Thunderhammer. Yeah, so I think he's made a mistake here. This hammer is 3 damage. -3, 3 damage, Hammer of Baal. Hits on a 2+. Primaris Librarian, Veil of Time, and Null Zone. Yeah, I mean, reroll charges, I guess, is good. Veil of Time is a fight first as well. So you could kind of use it defensively now. So that's interesting. Hey Thomas, thanks for tuning in. Hi, what if we were wrong? And what if we were wrong? We are in the bottom of this meta. What do you think, guys, of being patient and play full MSU and focus on scoring? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how we have, and thanks Lucky for subscribing on Twitch. That's kind of what we have to do, Giu. Hope I'm saying your name right. We have to play really smart. We have to focus on scoring. We have to take the most efficient units as it currently stands, I think, because there's a lot of units that are trash for us right now. So we have to be really smart with our picks, and it makes the game a little bit limiting for us. But I think if we pick really smart, we can still do okay. Alright, so Infiltrators and Heavy Intercessors, we covered this. Blade Guard, 3-man. Veterans, 3-man with Thunderhammers. How many attacks does Company Veterans get? Is it just 2? Company Veterans. I'm sure it's going to be 2, isn't it? Yeah, 2 attacks. Alright, so this squad would be 3-2-2, so 7 attacks, potentially 10 with Shock Assault, potentially 13 with Savage Echoes. A Redemptor with the Frag Storm, the Flamer, and the Heavy Onslaught Cannon. I don't like it. I think the Plasma is a lot more versatile than the Heavy Onslaught Cannon. That's my opinion. It's the same amount of points, I believe, and I think it's way better to have the Plasma. 5 Sanguinary Guard with Axes, 5 Thunderhammer Terminators, 5 Vanguards with Thunderhammers as well, which I think I much prefer Lightning Claws here. These are 12 points per model, so you're literally 12, 24. You're 60 points on these Thunderhammers. Holy shit, actually. So you could literally have 2 more Vanguard Veterans with Lightning Claws. Almost. Well, at least 1, and then maybe 15 points to put elsewhere. Or I guess you keep a Thunderhammer on the Sergeant. I'm okay with that. I think... Do not underestimate how good Lightning Claws are on Vanguard Veterans right now. You get an additional attack, which puts them on base of 3 attacks. You get to reroll all your wounds, which with Red Thirst is actually kind of disgusting. Normally, if you think about this, right? Normally, if you charge a Toughness 4 or Strength 4 model against a Toughness 8 enemy, you only wound on 6s. So you have a 16% chance to wound. If you were another Space Marine chapter like Ultramarines, you charged a Toughness 8 model with a squad of Lightning Claws, you wound 16% of the time. Whereas if you're a Blood Angel, because of the +1 to wound, we straight away wound 33% of the time, and then because we get to reroll all our wounds, which is basically 66% of the misses, we would wound 22% of the time again. So strength 4 actually wounds toughness 8 55% of the time with lightning claws, which is kind of crazy. So against toughness 7, we wound 75% of the time. Strength 4 versus toughness 7, 75% chance to wound. Lightning claws are like, they're just crazy good right now. And yeah, I mean, I understand having a lot of 3 damage weapons, and we talk about that in every stream. And let's have a look at how many 3 damage weapons he actually has. So we've got 2 squads of Eradicators, that gives us 6. We've got 2 on the Hammer Strike, that gives us 8. We have 5 Thunderhammers here, that gives us 13. We have 5 more Thunderhammers here, that gives us 18. We have 3 more Thunderhammers here, that gives us 21. We have a Fist on this Dreadnought, so 22, and then the Captain with the Thunderhammer, 23. So 23 3 damage weapons is probably excessive. Like, I tell people to at least have 10. I found that Suppressor Squads is good for backup firing. Suppressor Squads are good. They're also useful for anti-Overwatch, and the fact that each model in the squad can shoot a different target is pretty great against some armies that have a lot of Overwatch, I guess. I think maybe if Tau become more prevalent in the meta, you could see actually suppressors finding their way onto the table a little bit more. But anyway, 23 3 damage weapons is overkill. You could swap out that whole squad of lightning Thunderhammers for lightning claws. I would do that for sure. And then I'd probably use the extra points to either take more Vanguard Veterans or more Sanguinary Guard. I always say Sanguinary Guard work best in squads of 7 to 9th. You're welcome, Steve. Thanks so much for watching and tuning in today. Nice to see you. So yeah, Sanguinary Guard always work best in squads of 7 to 9. So let me just think. If we dropped all the Thunderhammers here and replaced them with Lightning Claws, that gives us... Well, let's keep the Sergeants one. So we'll drop these other 4. That's 48 points. We need 12 to put Lightning Claws on, so we get 36 points. So straight away we can get +1 Sanguinary Guard. And then maybe we could drop these 2 Thunderhammers on these guys. How many points did I say we had? 36. If we drop them and replace them out with... Lightning Claws on those 2 as well, that gives another 18 points. So we've now got, I should be able to do this math, 54. So at that point we just need to find 10 more points and we get 2 more Sanguinary Guard. Is there a way to get 10 more points into this list? Or out of this list? Not seeing it right now. Do you know what I would do? I would drop 1 more Thunderhammer out of this Terminator Assault Squad and have 1 Terminator with double Lightning Claws. That gives you another 10 points, which gives you 64 points, which is what you need for 2 more Sanguinary Guard. So basically what you do is you go from like 23 3 damage weapons down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you'd still have 17 3 damage weapons. You'd have added a ton of Lightning Claws. You'd also have added Lightning Claws to the Terminator Squad, which I actually think is not bad. Alright, Mark, thanks for tuning in. Because sometimes, you know, like you're looking at this Terminator Squad and thinking, great, this Terminator Squad is amazing at killing. This Terminator Squad is amazing at killing armor, but at some point the Terminator Squad ends up in combat against the wrong target. Well, now you've got a guy in there with double Lightning Claws to help shred through some chaff unit to get you back into the combat that you want to. I guess that's maybe not quite as important in this list because he's got the fallback and recharge, but still, I think that's what I would do. I think a group of a 7 Sanguinary Guard that can fall back and charge is going to be crazy strong as well, because these guys get 5 attacks on the charge, and yeah, I would add some swords. So I'd add 2 more guys with swords. And also I'd swap out the Onslaught Cannon for the Plasma. I just think the strength of the Onslaught Cannon is usually to kill like chaff units, right? If you're going to end up shooting against chaff units, then you're usually going to have more than 6 models in the squad. So your Macro Plasma is going to get its maximum 6 shots. It's now 2 damage even on low power, and its strength... I don't know, the Macro Plasma it's a lot. It's a decent amount of strength on low power as well. I want to say it's maybe strength 8 on low power. Let me double check that. Macro Plasma. Yeah, it's strength 8 and -4 on low power. So the enemy aren't going to even get a save, right? You're just going to obliterate 6 models, even if they've got 2 wounds. Like 6 Marines, you're just going to obliterate them. As opposed to the Heavy Onslaught, which gets like 12 shots, strength 6 -1. You know, for me, it just feels like the Plasma is going to give you more versatility throughout the list. So, let's have a think about scoring this list then. So the Admech Horde army is fun. If there's an Admech player in your meta, I would strongly recommend the MSU list, spreading out points as much as possible. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good... And I like his hammer theme, and I like having that many hammers, but I think you can maybe go too far on the hammers. Why do they get 5 attacks on the charge? Because they're 3 attacks normally, and then you get 1 from Savage Echoes, and you get 1 from Shock Assault. Bear in mind, I guess, Savage Echoes only kicks in turn 3 and above. So there are only 4 attacks on the charge for turn 1 and 2. Unless you have the Sanguinary Priest next to them to put them into Assault Doctrine in turn 1, and then you do get the 5 attacks from turn 1. And that's usually how I run my Sanguinary Priest, so that 5 attacks on the charge. If you can be round your Chapter Master, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, it's crazy strong. I think that's why they put them up to 32 points per model. Anyway, we're looking at 2 squads of Infiltrators and a squad of Heavy Intercessors. I think you're like on 9 at that point on OBSEC, because the Heavy Intercessors are going to be crazy hard to shift. 2 squads of Infiltrators. I think I'd give 3 Phobos units a 9. I think the heavy Intercessors in there makes this a 9. Do you like Dr. Pepper? I don't actually. If I had to choose an energy drink or something like that, I actually really like Red Bull, but I try not to drink too much of it. I'm older now, and I just try to cut down on all my caffeine and all my junk food. I still eat way too much chocolate, but who doesn't, right? Anti-infantry hordes. So we've got some firepower out of the troops, and then probably a little bit of firepower out the Redemptor, and I guess that's maybe what you're going for with the Heavy Onslaught and the Frag Storms. So there's a little bit there, but I mean, if you're going to do that, then I'd almost say do the actual Onslaught, pay the 5 points here and do the Onslaught, I guess, as well. But yeah, I just feel I just feel that Redemptor is weaker than he needs to be for no real reason. So I think maybe it's like a 7-5. You don't have much anti-infantry firepower here. There's not that many Sanguinary Guard. So potentially, here's the thing, you end up having to kill chaff units with Thunderhammers, which isn't optimal play. Whereas if the enemy's got like a lot of chaff units and you have a full squad of Lightning Claw guys, the Lightning Claws are gonna go straight through us. You're not 80, are you? No, but you I don't know, like at some point in my life I decided to try and not feel like shit from like not getting enough sleep, drinking too much caffeine. I used to smoke like excessively, like I don't know, 20 to 40 cigarettes a day, you know. Like at some point I just tried to stop all that shit because like I wanted to try and just be more healthy in general. So yeah, I do still drink energy drinks, but not that often. Anti-monster and vehicle, I guess if you can make the charges with your 23 Thunderhammers and all the multi-meltas that you've got in the Eradicators and the multi-meltas and the missiles and the Storm Strike, I guess we go like 9-5 here, and the Hammer of Baal as well. Like, you could definitely kill monsters and infantry on here. BC did the math on it. The plasma is just better even against horde stuff. Yeah, it does seem like it just is a bit better against the hordes. But I mean, I guess if you have a massive amount of toughness 3 enemies that have no armor save, then your onslaught is going to be a little bit better, right? But if you're against any sort of more like against Marines, against Sisters, against anything that's going to not get an armor save on 4+, and you're going to get the maximum 6 shots from the plasma, then you're probably just going to melt things really effectively. Yeah, Man's lungs had the same color as his shirt. I quit smoking a long time ago, but like, yeah, and just try to be more healthy, I guess. Mobility wise, then, I think mobility is pretty great. The heavy intercessors aren't mobile; they don't need to be. The librarian, I guess, maybe a little question around his mobility. The veterans and the blade guards, if they're heading centerboard again, not so worried about mobility. And the eradicators, they're not the most mobile. I guess maybe it's like a 7. That sounds cool, Athenos. So were you at a tournament on the West Coast or what? Yeah. You can't smoke cigarettes if you play Warhammer. It's way too expensive to do both. And then specialization. So we've got the Psyker, we've got Veil of Time. So we kind of have a way to at least interrupt on the fight phase. We don't have the Whirlwind though. We don't have a Resurrection here, which is this is a super infantry heavy list. It feels a little bit strange not to have the Priest, I guess. But it's okay, you don't have to run the Priest. And then a good amount of 3 damage weapons. I feel like it's maybe an 8. Yeah, I mean, it's got... Yeah, I think it's like an 8. So I think he has actually beaten a score from last time. He got 39.5 last time. But I think this list could be a 42, 43 pretty easily. Just with some improved options here. And I do wonder about this Hammer Strike. Like, would it be... The Whirlwind's, 30 points cheaper than this? So if you did have the Whirlwind rather than the Hammer Strike, you then have 30 points. We already talked about dropping some of these Thunder Hammers. I wonder if you could get some attack bikes in this list over the Eradicators. I wonder if that is a little bit stronger as well. And or even like a cheap Apothecary you could do something with as well. And if you're desperate to get a few more points, you could probably go with one squad of Incursors, actually, right? Because I feel like Infiltrators have such a big bubble of denial for enemy units arriving, and heavy Intercessors are not going to be that easy to arrive on either because they're, toughness 5. And they have auto bolt rifles, so potentially you've got an Auspex scan waiting to happen here as well. Can you convert a Primaris Apothecary into a Sanguinary Priest? I mean, you can. They're probably on different size bases, though. Your hair is suspiciously like the same colour as Sanguinary Suns. It was. My daughter's hair is the same colour as the Sanguinary Suns. Unfortunately, mine's going grey like Dante, so that's where we are. But It's a yeah, I think an 8. But I think we could I think it change around some of the weapons on this Redemptor. Drop some of the Thunder Hammers because I feel like you've just got too many of them. Maybe drop the Hammer Strike, replace it with a Whirlwind, or maybe you don't have to drop the Hammer Strike and get the Whirlwind in here, but maybe making the Redemptor better, maybe making the Sanguinary Guard a little bit bigger, maybe balancing some of your weapons. This could go up a couple of points easy enough. I think you could get this to 42 or 43. I think Steve is winning today. Steve had to bounce, but I think so far Steve's list is the strongest, but this isn't bad at all, Russell. You're a dad? Yeah, I have a daughter. She's like 20 months old, I think. And we got number 2 on the way, so... Well, I don't know what sex the new baby is, but we've got, we'll have 2 soon, I guess. Saw a lot of Apothecary follow Bladeguard up the middle. Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, right? The Apothecary following up the Bladeguard. The Bladeguard are pretty survivable. If you can get them in cover, White Scars giving the Bladeguard 17-inch threat range is silly. Yeah, I mean, White Scars... I think White Scars are in a very good position right now. I think that it would be nice to see Blood Angels get... I think we need a little bit of a buff. I think we've all talked about it on this channel that we need a little bit of a buff going forward. I am old enough that every time someone asks me my age, I need to double check and think about it. I am... What year is this? 21? I think I'm 37 and I'll be 30. Yeah. I'll be 38 in September. It's funny, you get to a point where like you just don't care about your age anymore. You just, I think it happened to me after like 35. Like you just don't, you don't care anymore what your age is. This is my first list with what I have, bar a few bits, and this is the list I'm going to my gaming group league with. Wish me luck. All right, well, good luck, Peter, and hopefully we can give you some. Tips. I'm waiting for Las Cannons to become D3 plus 3 if that ever happens. Yeah, I think we're all waiting on that. That would be brilliant, wouldn't it? So, Battalion, 1950 points. So there must be some sort of extra 50 points he has somewhere else. Interesting. I don't. This is from the GW app, so sometimes it's not always right. Okay. So Astrath with Exorant of Rage and Litany of Faith. So we can get protection against mortal wounds and Exorant of Rage. I always find it's a strange pick, right? Because isn't that the one that gives you +1 to wound, and it doesn't stack with Red Thirst? So there must be a reason that he's picking it. Maybe he's against some sort of army that's giving him -1 to wound. But yeah, it's always seems to me a strange litany pick. But anyway, let's move on. Primaris Captain, Heavy Bolt Pistol, Mastercrafted Power Sword, and Relic Shield. So this is the captain from the Indomitus box, and he is wearing, he has Gift of Foresight, so that's pretty great. Reroll 1 hit, 1 wound, 1 save per turn. And his relic is... This is a strange relic choice. Models equipped with a bolt pistol, heavy bolt pistol. This relic replaces that, and it's basically an 18-inch pistol, strength 5, -3, 2 damage. I don't really know if I would. I mean, if that's the only captain he's got, then that's what he's picked. And it's pistol 3, so you get 3 strength 5, -3, 2 damage pistol shots. I guess that's good if you get stuck in close combat. But, I mean, I don't think I've really seen anyone in Blood Angels pick this before, so okay. Could a small 3-man squad of Eliminators be a good choice after the points drop, and in what role? Yeah, we've talked a lot about Eliminators. At the start of the stream we were talking about them. And yeah, we generally think that 3 of them could be very good. Probably in the role of sniping enemy characters, getting the double move if the sergeant has the instigator bolt rifle, and maybe comboed up next to like a Phobos captain for rerolls to hit and also potentially to do more damage. Yeah, it's something that, and we did the tier list video on Friday, and the Eliminators were one of the few heavy support options that got put into good tier, Kim. So yeah, do you know what's really funny? On my painting table right behind me, like, this is where my Eliminators are, right? Like, I'll put them on the other camera. Like, I've done no work on them at all. These are the ones that these ones came with start collecting Vanguard Shadow Spear, I think. So these guys, I've had them for ages, and like I've done nothing on them, but they're literally on the painting table behind me because I was like, maybe I might actually field these guys tomorrow. I'm really tempted to field them tomorrow, actually. I'm really reluctant to drop. Like, I have to drop either the Librarian Dread or the Sanguinary Priest in my list. I really don't want to drop either of them, but I think I'm going to. I'm thinking about it. I just need to try them because we keep talking about them, and I think as much as maybe like I know what the Librarian Dread brings to the battlefield, right? Like, I know he brings out, you know, smites, and he flies around and he does a lot of damage. So yeah, maybe I will try and slap some paint on these guys tonight just so that they're not like monotone, and take them in the live battle tomorrow night on the channel. I think I'm playing Death Guard tomorrow. I will double check. I'll post it up afterwards, but I think we'll be live, I think, about 7:30. We've actually got like a proper camera mount on the roof now, so hopefully there'll be an actual fully overhead camera for tomorrow's battle as well. But anyway, let's get back into this Peter Watkins list. So he's got a squad of Assault Intercessors, Infiltrator squad with a Comms Array, which I mean, the Comms Array is a strange choice. I think it lets them... Let me double check. I think it lets them reroll hits or something. I really don't know why you would take a Comms Array on Infiltrator squad. Infiltrators... The bearer is always considered to be within range of any abilities of Chapter Phobos units. Does he have a Phobos captain or something? No, so I think he's made a mistake here. This you shouldn't take this. This gives you no benefit. You've got no units that can synergize with it. Save the 5 points. We'll find a way to spend them somewhere else on the list. Okay, and then we have Intercessors to the Auto Bolt Rifles, which is the correct pick, but a grenade launcher, and then Intercessors with Stalkers and a grenade launcher. Now, I probably think this is one too many troop choices. You do not... There's a reason... I always say there's a reason... if you drop the Librarian Dread, I will cry, says Tony. I don't know what to do, Tony. I really need to try the damn... Whatchamacallit? I really need to try the Phobos Captain with the Eliminators and see if I feel like there's value with them. Anyway... I don't like grenade launchers on these guys. I always think frag and crack grenades are average at best. You've got an auto bolt rifle which gives you 3 shots anyway, so what do you really get from a crack grenade or a frag grenade? You know, by the time you roll how many hits you get with a frag grenade, it's going to do the same amount of work as the auto bolt rifle. The crack grenade, maybe, you know, but it's very slight. I wouldn't pay the 5 points here, and I wouldn't run 3 squads of troops either. I'd save 100 points here and get some more elites just because that gives you more killing power. And also Stalkers seem like the wrong choice for Blood Angels. Like auto bolt rifles, yes, great. Infiltrators to hold the backfield, great. Assault Intercessors to push up, you know, decent. But yeah, Stalkers here, I just don't know how they synergize with our lists. Vanguard Veteran, a 3-man squad. And the Sergeant's got the pistol. I kind of like this pistol. I actually think for 5 points it's one of the better pistols. I much prefer it to a plasma pistol. It does have no AP, which is its big disadvantage, but you know, the problem with plasma is I find like you can never really shoot it on full power, so I prefer this. This Death Company it's a 5-man, 1 Thunderhammer, 1 plasma pistol, 2 Infernal Pists, a Power Fist and a Power Sword. I would try and change this Death Company. I mean, maybe you can't because you said you're a new player, but I would try and change the Death Company so you're running like just bolter and chain swords on some of the guys. Make some of your models in the squad as cheap as possible, so when units die, you take away the cheap. You take away the cheap. I've lost my train of thought. You take away the cheap models, yes. So like Infernal Pistol, Power Fist, Infernal Pistol, Power Sword, Plasma Pistol, you could drop all those and you could just run 5 Death Company instead of 4 with bolters and chain swords, and they are the chaff units that die so that you protect your expensive guy. But we talked earlier in the stream, 5 Death Company is unlikely to make a major impact. You either go for like a large Death Company or you don't bother with them. So it's okay what you've got here, but it's not optimal. The Redemptor Dreadnought Rocket Plods, the macro, and assault. This is correct. This is 100% the best combination for the Redemptor Dreadnought. Sanguinary Guard, you've just got 5 of them. Axe, I guess 2 with swords, 2 with axes, Infernal Pistol, and Power Fist. You don't need the Power Fists anymore. I think they're wasted points now. The addition of the +1 to the wound roll you're probably going to get from the Power Fist, you're probably going to lose that from the -1 to hit. And also, Sanguinary Guard really work best in squads of 5 to 7. So if you want to keep your Death Company, we need to get some more models into it. We can do that because we can save this 100. We can take 100 points off the troop choice you had earlier. 105 actually, 110, because this Infiltrator Comms Array gives you no advantage. So take those 110 points, invest 2 more guys into the Sanguinary Guard, that's like 64. Drop some of these weapons and invest 2 more guys into the Death Company with bolters and chainswords. That makes both these squads much more scary, and you don't really lose much because these Stalker guys are kind of average. And then down here at the bottom, we've got Centurion Devastators and missile launchers, las cannons. These guys are so expensive, and you don't have a priest. I think if you want to run these guys, you absolutely need to run a Sanguinary Priest. Like, I wouldn't run these guys. In the tier list video, we actually put them, I want to say we put them D, right? Tony, you're in the chat. We said these were the worst heavy support choice out of every unit we can take. Let me double check that. Let me just skip to the end. Spoiler, if you've not seen, actually maybe the Baal Predator was worse. Okay, so we've said the Repulsors and the Centurion Devastators are they're in the dumpster. They are the worst units that you can field right now. So, I mean, this is frustrating, right? Because this guy's a new player. He literally said he's new, and he's got a new list, and he's going to take this to his local gaming session or gaming group, and Repulsors and Centurion Devastators are I said the Centurion Devastators were horrifically overcosted, and we also said the Repulsor doesn't know what it is, right? Like, it's got a ton of guns on it, but it doesn't really have a dedicated purpose, and it doesn't survive. So this is what D for dog, D for dunce, D for dumpster. I mean, this is what's really frustrating about the edition right now, is like, this should not be the situation, right? Because this guy will have he's probably spent $100+ on these 2 models. He's probably spent months of his time. I mean, I know for me personally, it would take me, let's say, 4 to 6 weeks to paint a Repulsor to reasonable standard. For Centurions, it took me another month. So he's probably spent, a quarter of the year painting these guys, and they're just absolutely trash in terms of competitive play right now. And if it feels bad for me as well, because I have to tell him, hey, dude, these things are trash, right? But like, Games Workshop need to get their finger more on the point with some of the balance. If you're wondering what to buy next, Peter, then please consider something like attack bikes or invader ATVs or land speeders with multi-meltas. I have a video coming out on these next week, and maybe consider a Sanguinary Priest. They're very, very strong right now, and I was going to say, like, maybe the Primaris Chaplain on a bike is actually a better choice than Astaroth as well, because he's just so much more survivable. If you find Astaroth dying a lot and he's not performing as well as you hoped, then look at the Primaris Chaplain on a bike. When we actually get to the named characters and we start putting them into a tier list, it's going to be really interesting to see where they are. I actually wonder, Tony, if we need to do a separate video on just named characters tier list, because named characters are not in a great position. I think bar Dante, they're all very poor, and I think for me Dante is a B. I think some people might put Dante in an A, but I think for me he's probably a B, and he's the highest. So this is a rough list. Are Primaris Chaplains without a bike good? No, I think the bike is the thing that makes them good. The bike gives them +1 toughness, and it gives them a 14-inch move. If you're not going to have the Primaris Chaplain on a bike, I think you kind of need a jump pack on the regular Chaplain. But I think Astaroth is just horrifically overcosted. Like, he's 150 points, and like all he's got is like you know what? I've got him right here. He's like, I used to love Astaroth. He's one of my favourite models. I have him painted as well, but like, he's just toughness 4 or 5 wounds. So like, he literally can die to a single melta shot. If the enemy hit him one time with a melta gun, he's dead. 150 points for that. I mean, he does have the Master of Sanctity, I guess, so that means he can do 2 litanies per turn, but he's not the wiser Aeter, right? Like, so he cannot pass those litanies on 2s, he passes them on 3s, and you can't reroll litany casts anymore. You used to be able to command roll them. So, I mean, he has an aura that means the Death Company don't need to take morale around him, but like I've said, Death Company aren't really in a great place either. So yeah, I just think Astaroth is very overcosted for what he brings at the moment. Considering you could take the cheap Librarian on a bike for 150 points and give him a 4 damage Crozius, which is 1 better damage than Astaroth, and on 6s he does mortal wounds. And he's going to have toughness 5, and he's going to have 2 more wounds. So he's going to have 1 more toughness and 2 more wounds, and he's going to be about 35 points cheaper. It's kind of crazy. What happened to Morier? I don't know. He got written out of the lore a little while ago. Take Lamartis instead of Astaroth and put the points back into Death Company bodies. Yeah, do you know what? I would do that. I mean, Lamartis isn't in a great place either, but he's more cost effective probably than Astaroth is currently. And they nerfed Massive Doom as well, right? Like, Massive Doom used to be that you took a mortal wound if you got like a roll of 1. Now it's like one of your models dies. So it's actually really crap because it includes characters. So, like, before, taking a mortal wound on a character wasn't the hugest of deals, especially if you've got a priest or you've got Feel No Pain. But now it's just that 1 unit is dead as well. I don't know. So this list is going to struggle to be super competitive. Hopefully we've touched on a few things. So the Centurions and the Repulsor, they're not competitive. I mean, you can watch the fast attack video, but I think Inceptors, attack bikes, Invader ATVs, land speeders, these things are all going to be more competitive than this. Death Company and Sanguinary Guard need to be bigger. And then, yeah, I would drop 1 squad I would drop the Stalkers, I'd probably drop these grenade launchers, and I think your characters could use some work. I don't like characters that are on foot. Like, I think they need jump packs, and jump packs or bikes, because otherwise they just don't synergize with Blood Angels. You know, you've got your 2 jump pack units here, and you're not going to be able to keep your character up you're not going to be able to keep up with them. So your rerolls are kind of wasted. I missed a comment there from you about, Commander, move your Chapter Master upgrade to the Phobos Captain and let him buff the Redemptors. He's not worth buffing the Eliminators. I suppose I was thinking that we would use concealed positions here. I was actually kind of thinking Steel Rain, and tell me if I'm wrong here, and this is off topic for this list. I could take the Warlord trait on the Phobos Captain, Master of Deceit, or Lord of Deceit, right? And then I could deploy, like, pretty aggressively, and, like, just with the intention of, like, using Lord of Deceit and pulling the units back. After both players deploy their army, select up to 3 Phobos units from your army. So select up to 3, so you don't have to do 3 and redeploy them. If this mission uses the strategic reserve rules, any of the units can be placed into strategic reserves without having to spend any additional CPs, regardless of how many units are already in strategic reserve. If both players have abilities that redeploy, units roll off. I was thinking that might be really interesting. I mean, I don't know what we would put into strategic reserves, but we could probably put something that would be pretty useful, like the Infiltrators, or take Gift of Foresight on him. It makes his rifle way more consistent. Interesting. I don't know what I would replace my other captain's weapon with, but yeah, Gift of Foresight does sound interesting. A 4 damage rifle that, like... See, I was thinking of taking Master Marksman, so his rifle is 4 damage. Anyway, let's try and score out Peter's list. So troop-wise, we'll score it as is. So I think it's like an 8.5. He does have 3 units of OBSEC units, so that is a good start. Anti-horde or infantry. I mean, like, you do have a repulsor, and you do have like centurions with las cannons and missile launchers, and I guess the sergeant has the grav cannon, because I think that's the default option. No, it must be heavy bolt. Actually, what is the default option on Centurion Devastators? Because you haven't... it must be grav. It just doesn't... The points just aren't quite shown. The Games Workshop app... I wish the Games Workshop app just showed the weapons, even if they weren't the default one, right? So I guess you do have a fair amount of anti-infantry firepower. So, I mean... yeah, I think we could probably go for a 9. I think you're probably anti-monster firepower. You do still have like a few las cannons. The Death Company and the Sanguinary Guard are a little bit too small, which I think is going to hurt you. And your characters aren't bringing too much to the battlefield, so I think that's like an 8. Mobility-wise, this is very... like, the Centurions are going to be super unmobile. Some of these, the troop choices aren't super mobile. Your captain isn't mobile, so I guess mobility is maybe like 6.5. And then specialization, 3 damage weapons then. We have a twin las cannon here, so that's 2. Las cannons and missile launchers on the Centurions, we've got 9. A few infernal pistols. Yeah, so I guess probably we've got like 15, 16 3 damage weapons. Give me sound. Thanks for subscribing. Appreciate that. But we have no psychic, and we have no way to fight first or fight last. And maybe the list, like, it just is... you can tell it's a new players list. It's not got the most competitive choices. I think a 6, maybe even a 5 would have been probably okay. The synergies between the list maybe just don't quite work for me, and Astaroth as well just doesn't quite work for me. So, yeah, something like that, Peter. Hopefully we give some suggestions. If you want to join us in Discord and ask, tag me and ask more consistent suggestions, you could do that as well. I just feel like there's a little... there's a little bit of... yeah, I mean, it's a bit because you're a new player, and inexperienced, I guess, is what I would say. But yeah, we're in a tough place right now. Like, some of our choices just aren't that competitive, so... I recently got the Typhoon tank from Forge World and adding it to our army. I do hope it helps. The Typhoon tank, I'm actually not familiar with that one. Chaplain with jetpack and Chaplain Primaris on the bike are good. Yeah, I think it's not just that. It's that the Blood Angels characters generally need to keep up with fast moving units. So it's not that the bike or the jump pack, they don't make them any stronger. It's just mobility is one of the biggest... I would say mobility is probably one of the biggest weapons the Blood Angels have. And, a lot of enemies or a lot of like these other websites at the moment are like placing Blood Angels really low and saying like we're really weak and we're not strong. I don't think we're super weak. I think we have to play and use our mobility really, really smartly, or we are weak. Yes. So like... I often say this in some of my streams, like, or on some of my videos, like, we can almost dictate when the combat happens, or we can almost dictate when the charge happens, and that most of our units are jumping 12 inches and stuff like this. And I think that's the important thing that to take away is like, if we use our units right and we dictate the pace of the battle, we can still do very well, but it is very hard to do that against some forces. And yeah, maybe some of our units aren't in the greatest place. Okay, I submitted a list prior to the update and changing points. Made some adjustments, so it's now updated with the current points. Okay. Alright, so let's start. This is a patrol detachment, the first one. A librarian with Veil of Time, Null Zone, Psychic Fortress. Of course, he is the chief librarian, and he's a jump pack. We then have the Primaris Chaplain, Absorber Pistol, Master of Sanctity, and Litany of Hate. And he is the Wise Orator. So he hasn't mentioned his other litanies here, so you can pick 2 litanies. So he hasn't, but you know, I saw you in the chat, T Money. I much prefer the regular chaplain. You've spent 25 points to make him a Master of Sanctity. For 5 points more, you get the one on the bike. I feel like the one on the bike can do probably just as much, and then at least he can be where you need him to be. Whereas this guy I think, like I said, I think mobility is our strongest weapon, so keep that in mind. I mean, it's not a bad pick, but just mobility really does help us a lot. We have a squad of Incursors. We have a squad of 5 Bladeguard Veterans with a Sergeant. So this is actually a 6-man squad of Bladeguard Veterans, and I would never run the Bladeguard Veterans in 6 because that makes them vulnerable to blast, and it also makes them 2 CP if you want to transhuman them, because Bladeguard Veterans are crazy strong with transhuman, but transhuman's just 1 CP if it's 5 guys. So I would 100% have the Bladeguard Veterans as a 5-man squad. So I would just skip one out there. So that gives you 35 points at the moment to play with somewhere else. And then we have the Sangreal Ancient, who has the Wrath of Baal. We have the Primaris Captain, and you know, it's the Primaris Captain, I think, from the Indomitus box, Relic Shield, Bolt Pistol, etc. We have a Primaris Tech Marine, who is Master of the Forge, and he is Hero of the Chapter, Warden of the Ancients. And Warden of the Ancients is the one where the Tech Marines give +1 attacks and +1 strength to Dreadnoughts, I believe. Yeah, +1 strength and +1 attacks within 6 inches. And I guess, yeah, so you're running a double Redemptor, I guess, with the Warden of the Ancients. I mean, maybe it's okay. I don't know if you need it, though. I mean, the Redemptors already have, like, strength 14 +1 to wound, you know? Is +1 attack on 2 Redemptors gonna be worth burning 1 CP? Maybe? It feels like a slightly lower value pick, but that's just my opinion. Oh, you combat squad them. Alright, fair enough. Yeah, if you combat squad the Bladeguard, as long as you don't run them as a squad of 6, then you're all good. T-Money, thanks for letting me know. We then have the Death Company, and this is a better Death Company than the last few that we've seen. A bunch of Bolter and Chainsword guys, 22 point models to take the wounds on, or 25 once you include the jump packs, I guess. We've got Thunderhammer, Infernal Pistol, and a couple Infernal Pistols, sorry. 1 Thunderhammer, 1 Power Fist. The 2 Redemptors armed correctly. 2 5-man Sanguinary Guard. And then Vanguard Veterans with Storm Shields, Lightning Claws. That's kind of it. Storm Shields, Lightning Claws across the board. And then the Whirlwind with the Hunter Killer Missile. So straight away, I get rid of that Hunter Killer Missile and I would put Infernal Pistol on either one of your squads of Sanguinary Guard or your Vanguard Veteran Sergeant. I feel like that is going to give you more value over the course of the game than a one-shot Hunter Killer Missile on a Whirlwind that's probably going to be obscured, or probably wants to be obscured. Yeah, they're 25 points. The way that this shows it was 22 points plus 15 points for all the jump packs for the squad. So I think the one thing. Hey Matt, thank you very much for re-upping membership for month 4. Appreciate that. Okay. And then the Sangreal Ancient to get the jump units forward quicker. So you've got 20 jump marines essentially, 5 Death Company, 5 Vanguard Veterans, 10 Sanguinary Guard. Yeah, and then HQ wise or character wise, so you've got 5 characters here. I tried running 5 characters and I don't like it because 5 characters makes it easy for the enemy to pick Assassinate. Why did you put the Repulsor Executioner in D list? Because I think it's overcosted at the moment still. I mean, its main cannon is okay, but I think we thought it was overcosted, and we thought that the board size impacted a little bit. You need to. I mean, the video is there, James, and it's all my videos usually are time stamped, so you can hit that video up, and I think you can probably, there should be like a bit where it probably says repulsors at the bottom, like along the timeline. You should just be able to click there and go straight to it. Okay, so I don't like the fact that you have 5 characters, because it makes picking Assassinate easy against you. And I also don't like the fact that your captain, I guess, and your chaplain are not mobile. So I would probably sacrifice one of those two and make the other one mobile. And I guess what I mean by that is get the chaplain on the bike, because as I said, he's kind of kick-ass on the bike. There's a lot you can do. You can have a 4 damage weapon. You know, you can be Wise Orator, he can be super survivable with like Gift of Foresight, an Armor Indomitus or something, or get your captain upgraded maybe to a Chapter Master and get him on a jump pack or a bike. I mean, I prefer the one on the bike, but the jump pack is fine as well. And then it makes just straight away picking things against you a little bit more difficult. I also think Sanguinary Guard don't particularly work well in 5-man squads, so I think 7 to 9 is optimal for them. And who's your Warlord at the moment? The Warlord's Librarian, and it's a jump pack Librarian. Okay, so I would probably either switch the Warlord to like the Chaplain or the Captain, and get them to go with the Sanguinary Guard, because you've got 2 squads. Try and buff up the points you save by dropping the extra HQ, add another model or 2 to both Sanguinary Guard squads, and then use Chapter Master rerolls on one and go with the other squads that are getting the +1 to hit. So I do something like that. The great thing about Chapter Masters as well is they work on the Redemptors. So if you've got the Tech Marine buffing one Redemptor, Chapter Master could buff the other one. GW needs to just up the toughness on all vehicles by 1, and that would fix the problem. Yeah, do you know what? That's probably not a bad idea, Steel Rain. So probably just Hunter Killer off this whirlwind, because it doesn't really make sense. Infernal Pistol onto, use the 5 points. Infernal Pistol into one of these 3 squads, because I think at some point this squad will be in combat and it'll come back to your turn, and having that Infernal Pistol in the squad can help a lot. I mean, you've kind of already done that with the Death Company. The other option might be to just drop one of the characters, one of these slower characters, right? Because your captain and your chaplain are not going to be able to keep up with, because you've got the Sanguinary Ancient to give you the +2 to move. So all your jump units are going to move 14 inches. If you advance them in turn 1, they're going to potentially move like 21 inches, and your captain and that are going to move a maximum of 11 inches. So they're going to be 10 inches behind. The chaplain buffs the one with the Recantation of Focus on the Tech Marine. Okay, so it didn't for whatever reason it didn't show that was one of the It didn't show that was one of your litanies for whatever reason, but okay, so that makes sense if the chaplain is going to stick around with the Redemptors, but I think that your captain is going to be left in the dirt. Another option might be to make your Sanguinary Ancient the Warlord, but yeah, maybe it's fine on the Librarian. And yeah, I just don't think you get all that. I mean, maybe you do get a little bit of value about the captain if he stands around and gives you the core rerolls on ones. It's just he's slow, very, But then there's an awful lot of points to spend to just have people hanging around to give a reroll 1 aura. Like I'd rather be moving forward with that and actually getting into combat earlier and stuff. So combat squatted Blade Guards that could go to the middle, and Cursors as the one troop choice. Okay, let's start some scoring and then we'll try and make some more suggestions, I think. So I think because you just have the one troop choice, you're looking at like 6/5 on the OBSEC. How are we dealing with horde-based armies? 2 Redemptors, potentially a Whirlwind, potentially 10 Sanguinary Guard shots, potentially a Tech Marines bolter thing. I forget what it's called. Forge bolter, that's the one. Something like that. So yeah, I mean, anti-horde is fine. It's not amazing, but it's fine. How many 3 damage weapons we got as well? We got 1 off this librarian, 2, 3 off the Tech Marine, Infernal, Thunderhammer, so that's 6, 2 Redemptors, potentially 10, and then yeah, so like about 10 3 damage weapons. But we do have a Fight Last, we do have a Psychic Deny, so I guess Specialization is probably pretty strong. And it was a Chief Librarian, so you got 2 denies, right? Yeah? Chief Librarian, yes. Am I reading that right? Yeah. Okay, so... And the powers are Null Zone, Veil of Time, and Psychic Fortress. Yeah, so I think your overall specialization is pretty good. I think mobility is going to be lower. It's funny because your mobility for most of your stuff is, or a bunch of stuff is lower, but then the stuff that's around the Ancient is higher. So I guess like a middling score from mobility of an 8 or something. Probably would like to see a couple more 3 damage weapons, and I think you can do that. I think you can do that by bringing a couple more Infernal Pistols, and or doing something with these Captain and Chaplains. Like 105 points to just stand around like a couple of Redemptors and give them reroll 1s doesn't seem like a really doesn't seem like a good use of points, right? Because if you need them to reroll 1s on the hit roll, can you not just use Wisdom of the Ancient, for example? You know, so like I'd take those 105 points and potentially. I think the way in this list, I think it feels like you upgrade the Chaplain and get him on a bike, give him the ability to do some serious damage, and then spend the extra points for some more 3 damage weapons, or make I think the Death Company and the Sanguinary Guard could all benefit from a few more models here. So I think anti-vehicle monster is probably like an 8/5 or something. So it's a decent list. I don't think it's bad at all, but I think having 5 characters just makes it too easy for the enemies to just pick Assassinate, and like they don't even, they just need. There's so many characters on the board, you can't screen them all the time. They can eventually pick some of them off, and then it gives them a very easy way to score points. I say this to Andrew and his sister's list because he always seems to bring like 6 characters, and yeah, okay. So I think that's probably what I would do, T-Money. I hope that helps. It gives you a bit of... Hey Martin, thank you for renewing as well. Appreciate that. Month 4. It's nice to see you guys sticking around this long. Thank you. So I think it's a decent list. If it makes people pick Assassinate, then they need to come into my Redemptor Blade Guard bubble. I mean, that's true, but like you can't... at the end of the game, I don't know if you can always be protecting all your characters, right? I've gone down to 3 characters now, got tired of people taking Assassinates, so Steel Rain. Yeah, so I went down to 4. 4 seems okay, especially when a couple of mine are really difficult to kill and we can revive a couple of them. Or not revive, sorry, heal a couple of them. I feel like there's a lot of value in that. And you know what? I was running 2 Redemptors. I actually have 3 Redemptors now. I ran 2 Redemptors for a long time, and the one thing to say about them is they are very swingy. Like sometimes you can roll really hot on them, but sometimes you can roll pretty poor. And it's why I've dropped one of them and moved to attack bikes. I had attack bikes on my list anyway, but like Redemptors, the plasmas on them can be quite swingy, which can be frustrating if they were a flat number of shots. I think they would be a lot stronger. But okay, yeah, I mean, it seems like a good list. 40 is definitely a reasonable score. But I mean, if you look at I think if you look at what most of the higher lists are scoring, they have more mobile characters, and yeah, I think Warden of the Ancient is a weaker pick here. I think like Mastercrafting the Forge Bolter might actually be stronger than Warden of the Ancient, you know, like, because they're not going to be able to shoot the Tech Marine, right? Because there's 2 Redemptors next to him. So being able to pump out a 3 damage bolter shot, and I think it's Assault 3, the Forge Bolter on the Tech Marine. I forget. I need to get a Primaris Tech Marine. It's something that I really need to get. Double Redemptors do work, one with CM rolls. You know, well, Steel Rain, my list that won 11 games in a row before the nerf of the points was a double Redemptor. Was there a double Redemptor list? But like there is Assault 3, so you can make this 3 damage. That might even be stronger. And obviously you can still use that. Even you can still shoot your pistol and stuff with the Forge Bolter, which is pretty cool. I like double Redemptor. But yeah, it can be very swingy. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I seem to always manage to roll 1s for the number of shots from the plasmas early game. Like, it just always seems to manage to roll 1s. So, yeah, hopefully, I mean, maybe I've just given you some food for thought, T-Money. But I mean, if it was working for you, then don't change it. Don't let me knock it. But I always say to people, like, don't go changing your list just based on my feedback. Like, play it, play 5 games with it. And if you find that the enemy keep picking Assassinate and you keep losing the points on Assassinate, then great, like, get value out of it like that. So yeah, I mean, there is a good amount of hordes, so you can use the plasma effectively. But yeah, I think that about wraps it for today, guys. Thank you for hanging out. Quite a lot of people hang out in the chat today. And yeah, you guys know you're all very welcome in our Discord, which you can get in the video description. And yeah, I'm gonna post a stream later on tonight for tomorrow, and I think we'll be kicking off at 7:30. So about an hour from now, tomorrow night. And I think it's Death Guard. I'm going to double check, and I'll post up the lists. And I think I will try the Eliminator squad. And I'll probably lose the game because I'm trying the Eliminator squad with the Phobos captain, but it should be interesting. Just curious to see what they can actually achieve, I guess. Using a very shooting-based list for Blood Angels. You're very welcome, T-Money. I hope. Thank you. Thanks for hanging out. It's nice when the people are here that we go over their lists. So yeah, I'll post all these lists into the video after the stream. So if anyone wants the lists, they can catch up on them. And yeah. Next week, then, no, not 2 weeks ahead. Next week is James, Jar Miniatures, Lucas. Thanks, Hydra. Are you a brand new member? If you are, really appreciated, man. Thank you for joining. Matty B and Michael Hokie. Yeah, so we'll be live next Sunday as always, and we'll talk over lists. And I think this week then, so we're going to have a live battle tomorrow night. I've got like a video, I think, coming out on Wednesday, just like a little random, more fun video. I think we're probably going to be hobbying on Thursday night. The tactics video on Friday, I think, is going to be ATVs, land speeders, attack bikes, eradicators, all that mixed in with Math Hammer, so we can finally get to the bottom of what is skewed with the new points increases. And then I think it's the week after we're going to be filming some more of the tier list videos with Tony and Mark. I have actually got the next tier list video. We filmed that last Thursday night. Nice, man. Thank you so much for joining, Hydra. You've been around here for a while. It's very appreciated. Yeah, so we've got the next tier list video filmed already, so I'll get that up onto the site or onto YouTube too as well. So, yeah. that's about it then, guys. If you, feel free to hang out tomorrow night if you want to come watch against Death Guard. I'll post up the list tomorrow. And have you ever thought of doing a painting all the successors chapters? Do you know what? I finally got a new camera, which is the camera I'm using here, and I have a lot to learn with it, but it's a hell of a lot better than my old camera. So, and like, basically the only reason I got this new camera was Elites will be 4 hours plus. Yeah, Elites is going to be a long one. I think we're going to have to film it in 2 nights. Because I talked to my wife about, like, hey, how long is this Elite video going to take to film? And she was like, well, you know. So I think it's going to have to be filmed over 2 nights. But yeah, so I finally got this new camera, which is a hell of a lot better than the old camera. So previously on this channel, I have only done 1 painting video, and it was poor because probably I was learning, and also my camera was poor. So I'm going to do a few more painting videos. Like, probably battle-ready painting videos first with this camera, and then maybe in the future we can look at successors. But, you know, to begin with, I've got a lot to learn, and I've actually got quite a long plan of videos to make now. So, like, I actually have a plan, and we know we're going to have content coming out every week. We're going to need a serious amount of beer. We might even need to open the whiskey for the Elites video, to be honest. Terrain setups. Yeah, I mean, with the new Games Workshop terrain stuff, I've not played since they did that blog on terrain, so I'm going to have a... Well, tomorrow was my first game, so we'll be thinking about that. And there is a website that we use for Terrain Hydra, which I can share with you, but things might be changing based on, you know, I guess based on the fact that Games Workshop just posted that big terrain article. But anyway, congrats to Steve. I think his list was the strongest today, and thank you to everybody else that submitted lists. You know, there wouldn't be a show without all the community submissions, and there probably wouldn't be a show without all you guys hanging out either. So thank you again for that, and hopefully we're going to catch some of you tomorrow night, and obviously we'll see you throughout the week as we release some other videos as well. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and happy 4th of July for your independence, and we'll see you all guys later. Good evening. By the blood are we made. Peace. It'll help. At some point I need to set up hotkeys because I cannot find where my camera is. There we go.